and now you're going to layer something on top of it. So what I'm telling you this in advance, if anybody feels dizzy or nauseous when they leave the room, that's what's happening. The way to solve that is, sit in class today for an hour, we'll do that. Don't stress out, know that that's part of what's happening. Tonight, do like 5 minutes on the new, and then go to 5 minutes on the old, because you're going to start doing this layering thing. And that's the way to do this, to consciously layer. And what will happen is the old will then begin to solidify. But it's not sequential. You can't wait until the old is perfectly entrenched in your brain before you take on the new. Okay? So you'll start to say, by week 4 or 5, the first and second week's old will become blended. So that's what happens, is your brain picks up and assimilates. So the only thing that will be new then is the new week, okay? But you'll remember this in like 4 weeks. You'll say, oh yeah, that's right. So just know that's what to do. Do not think you're getting stupid or anything else that's happening. It's just the stage we're at right now. Okay, so let's look at to the top of page 12. You now know 3 Hebrew letters. Who would like to say those 3 letters? Just as a chance to say their names. Sometimes it's hard to remember the names. Kim, do you want to say them? Wait. I'm on that first line. You now know these 3 letters, the old ones. I'm sorry, I said new. Good. And you've learned these 2 vowel symbols, and what are the sounds of these 2? Karen, do you remember these 2 sounds? Ah. Both are ah, good. And the first Hebrew word that you've learned so far is what? Who remembers Shabbat? Shabbat, very good. Okay, now we're going to look at 2 new letters, which are actually 3 new letters. Do you remember in the very first class I mentioned that there are a couple letters that take a different shape when they're in the final position? And by final position, everybody understands that what I'm talking about is that, if these are 3 letters, it's in this position that it will take a different shape but have the same sound. And you're probably thinking, well, why don't they all take different shapes in the final position? They don't all. Fortunately, otherwise we have twice as many letters to learn. We only have a few of the finals. Sophite is what they're called, the finals. So the first one you're going to learn is called lamed. And lamed is an L sound, like in lake. And if you look at it, it always has that top feather sticking up. So if this were the line like this, it always sticks up like that. And one of the things we had, some of you were here on Friday night, and we unrolled the scroll. One of the things when you unroll the scrolls, you get to see a little bit about the orthography. And what's interesting is that some scribes will do a laid down lamed. It's actually very cool. You don't see this too often. But you see something like that, where the top of the feather lays back. You'll never see it laying forward, but this you'll see once in a while. It's a certain scribal technique. But for the most part, you'll see the lamed with the top on top. We're just starting on 2. We're just starting the new chapter. We just did a little review. So that's the lamed. Now, the mem, as it makes it sound just like mom, is written so that it fits right inside the box here. It fits right in there. And you see that it looks a little more stylized than the typesetting font. And then the mem sophite is the final mem. So it will always be at the end of the line. And it's pretty much looking like a square with a little bit hanging over. We'll work on writing these. So that's a mem sophite. That's a final mem. Let's now go through and start with just saying the names, because the names will reinforce the sound. And let's start way from the back. And why don't you go first? We're going to go down the line, and we'll come down this one, okay, moving next. And just say the name of each letter. Try not to look at the chart.
Lamed.
Mem. Mem sophite. Good. Bet. Now you're pretty good. Good. Mem sophite. Dylan?
Men.
Ma'am Sophie. Good. How did it feel to mix up the old and the new letters? What was your brain thinking?
It was a surprise.
Okay, good. A little job. Like I said, the first couple of weeks, you'll think of them as old, new, and then, like I said, by the fourth, fifth week, they're going to all merge. It's good. Now we're going to keep on going, and now we're adding on another level. We're adding on the vowel, so we're going to make its sound. Where did we, can we get the last one? Okay, so Judson, go to line B.
What?
Good.
Ma. Say ma. Say ma. 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 Ta.
Wait, where did we just, wait, I heard Pam with a ta, and then, what happens to me? Yeah, okay. Like ta. Good. Sha.
Shah.
Ba. Good, okay, let's stop here. I want to see, can we squeeze Jonathan in by you guys, can you spot in between? Because he needs to, right, we're squeezing you in.
John, over here we go.
Big space over here.
We want to go
And
outside.
I know 2 or 3 other people are coming too. I'm gonna, next time, request the room to be set in a different way so that we can have a little bit more space. It's good fun, So, now, for a couple people who just came in, I just want to update us that we're on page 13. We're just starting lesson 2, and we've picked up 3 new letters. We picked up the lamed, which makes a l sound, the mem, which makes a m sound, and the final mem, the mem sophie, which also makes a m sound, but when it's only found in the last position. Now, let's go to line C on the top of page 13. Where did we leave off? I have like, no, my brain doesn't work very well. Wait, Kim, was it you? No, okay. Ma, good. Sean,
Wa.
Ma.
Ha.
Ma.
good.
Ta.
Wa.
Sha.
La.
Good. Now, in this next one, in 9D, it says mem sophie, final mem, is only used as the last letter in a word. It appears in the following line as the last letter of each consonant, vowel, consonant combination. Remember that a consonant, vowel, consonant combination forms a single syllable. So don't try to divide this into 2 syllables. Let it all be a closed syllable, so it's going to end in a consonant sound. And they've already told you they're all going to end in an M sound. So let's pick up where it sits in the undy. Long.
Sham.
Long.
Tom.
Mom.
Lam.
Ma.
Good. It's funny because for you think you're just making baby sounds, but some of these are actually Hebrew words. Like Tom means taste and Sham means there. So it's interesting, like you're already learning actual words, but you don't know it yet. Good. Okay, now let's go to E, and these again are going to be single syllable sounds. Wait, I'm sorry, Karen, did we leave off with you? Yeah, we're on the top of E, yes.
Ma.
Ma. Sha.
Ta.
Tom.
Ma.
Mash. Wash. Good. Are you conscious of the way your eyes and brains are flowing? Yeah, like you. Yeah. Good, very good. Okay, Jonathan, keep going. Wait, did I leave off with you? Oh, sorry.
Lot.
Lot. Mom.
Ha.
Good. Now, read aloud the following longer combinations of letters and vowels. Remember to sound out the individual syllables, and we're just starting to get a feel for what is a syllable. Each syllable is either a single consonant with a single vowel or a consonant-vowel-consonant combination. So let me just draw a picture of what that is. In Hebrew syllables, you're going to have either a a vowel or something here, or you're going to have something like that. And you'll have to figure out, and the trick is to see where the vowels are. Does that make sense?
So two consonants with the vowel, each with the vowel would be two syllables.
Exactly, because your brain would see this. It's the second consonant, whether or not it has a syllable, that will tell you if it's all to be read. If it has a vowel, right, if it has a vowel.
And when we read without vowels eventually, you really have to know what you're reading.
Yeah, but don't worry, we won't be struggling with that. This class will say with vowel.
I know.
I won't take your vowels away.
Yes, but they go with vowels in scores.
Yeah, that's way. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. I won't even try.
I think it's me.
Yep, okay.
Bam. G. Ta.
Wait,
Come on.
speak really loud, because I can't hear, because I don't know if you're hearing music, but the wall behind me, the cantors making lots of noise.
So it's, Bama,
Good.
Ba.
Wait, and say it again?
Ba la.
Good.
Thank you.
Baba.
Ba bao.
Bow wow.
Good.
Bow wow.
Okay, so you see it's going to be all mixed up. Sometimes they're going to be single, sometimes they're going to be open, sometimes they're going to be closed. We'll keep going.
Tongue.
Mama. So why would, I guess this is not a real word, so it would be an M, so feet would be.
Right, good. That's a really good question. I don't know if everybody heard heard Susan's question. The question was, why is on line H, the third one in, why is it two mems? Technically, if it was a real word, the second mem should be the Sophie, should be a final mem. And it's just because they're giving it to you as syllables.
Can a Sophie have a vowel at the end?
Very good. It never does.
It never does.
It never does.
So Shema would have not a Sophie there.
Right. Although Shema ends in a consonant that is silent and takes the vowel. We'll get to those. We'll get to those. That's how you can end in a awesome. And yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Yes.
Kalam.
Say that one again.
Kalam.
Good.
Lost. Where is it?
With the last one on H.
Mala.
Good. Let's keep going.
Sham. Shama.
Shava.
Shalom.
Shama.
Shabam.
Wash.
Latash.
Good.
Mama.
Good. Very, very good. Okay, now I see for some people, your brains are still sorting through it. Like you have the skill, but you're not fluent yet in decoding these things. Know that comes with practice. Your brain is really sorting now. Now, we'll give a couple more little things to fill in the hopper, and then we'll mix and match. The mixing and matching is what helps build the fluency. Now we're going to learn some more vowels. I just want to ask, do people think that there's three ways of miking this new facility? One is in the sanctuary, one is in this room, and one is in the hallway. It seems in my ears that the hallway is mic'd right now. Does anybody else hear that, or is the sound coming from the outside? Okay, it's not coming from the hallway. Okay.
It's just you were there last time, it's probably much louder.
Yeah, it sounds really
It
much
might be
better.
better.
Okay. I'll just turn my ears.
Do you want
No, I
us to
think-
tell it to be quieter?
No, because he can't be quiet. But the only thing is, last time he shut it off in the hallway because he didn't realize that it was in the hallway too. It's just the way the sound system works.
Oh, it could be both.
That's what I'm asking you. Does anybody else think it's both, is what I'm asking. Can you just tell me, it doesn't have to be part of it, but if he has the hallway on to shut the hallway. Thank you. Okay, now, and I'll go over and go over again. Now we're going to get two more vowels, and they both make an O as in flow, so what we call a long O. The difference is, unlike last time where we had the vowels underneath, this time the vowel is going to be over here, so on the side. In the first case, it's going to look like a small lollipop. So that will make an O sound. In the second case, it's the lollipop minus the stem. And in both cases, that makes O. So now, your eyes are going to look this way to find the vowel, not underneath to find the vowel. Okay? But they may have some syllables that do need you to look underneath. Hi, Catherine. Come pull up a chair. We're just on two, on page 13. Does anybody have a question about O? About the O sound? Let's plug it in now with some of these consonants and see how this is. It's the same, so the question, every question is, well, what would be the difference when you would use this or this? And it's very similar to the question of when would you use this and when would you use this. That there's not going to be a consistent rule. You know, I'll give you a good example. Like in English, how we have different vowels that make the same sound. Like when would you use that and when would you use that or something. And we can't say that there's a consistent rule. Now, let's turn to page 14 and we're going to start reading out loud. Go slowly. You're bringing a lot of pieces together. Wait, Catherine, we just switched there.
I just didn't see the board.
Oh, okay. So let's start with A. Line A, we're on page 14, and we're just going to start reading, knowing that these are focusing on the O sound. I can't remember where we left off. Charlie, do you want to go first then?
Bo.
Okay. We're on A, yeah. I got them here.
Bo.
It was on. Okay, good, thank you. Not on. Okay, keep going.
Mo,
Mo.
Toe.
Toe.
Low.
Show.
Good. So here you see that the same consonant can be written both ways. I want to point out the second to last one, that show. That's a little confusing because you see how in one case the dot is acting to make it a sh sound, and the other, and right next to it you have a dot that's making it the O. Does everybody see that? Okay, so don't get confused. We talked a lot about the dots in the first session. Yes, yes.
I missed last sentence, so I'm curious. The dot on the shin, can that be in two different places?
Yes, and we're going to study that letter later on.
Or that's a different letter?
It's a different letter. It makes a different sound. I'm going to tell you now because I don't want to confuse you. And for those of you who were in the very, very first class, some of you know enough about the alphabet to know that we're actually not learning these letters in their alphabetical order. We're learning them in an order that's actually easy for the brain to copy because they're sounds that show up often and are easy to make sounds. So that's if you're thinking, oh wait, why didn't I see that? All right, let's do line B. Now we're mixing it up a little bit.
Okay. Toe, show, low,
Bo.
Mo.
Mo.
Up.
Toe.
Good.
Mo.
Bo,
Mo.
Show.
Low.
Okay, we're going to start with Catherine. That's she's not going to get in our circle. Oh, we're on C.
okay, bone,
And then we'll jump back.
Shun. Chun.
Shun.
Tongue.
Low.
Bowl.
Shoal.
Bowl.
Hole. Mo.
Moat.
Boat.
Shut. Shout.
Should. Good. Now, when the vowel O is followed by the letter shin, only one dot is used for both the letter and the vowel. When the vowel O is followed by the letter shin, each has its own dot. So this isn't going to affect the sound, but it will affect what it looks like. Because you couldn't actually do like that. It would be too hard to have the dot, like, you know, two dots on top of each other. Do you know what I'm saying? If this is the letter, and then here, let me do a shin. Do you see what I'm saying? If this was a bet here, and you wanted to, how would you read that?
Bush.
Bosh, right? So in that case, this dot right here is doing two jobs. What two jobs is it doing?
Being the shin and the
Oh.
O.
Right, that's right. So it's doing two jobs. It's doing the shin, it's making this a sh sound, and it's also doing the vowel job of O.
So you just have to know if it's Bosch versus Bosch.
How would you, good, okay, so how would you know this is Bosch and not Bosch?
Well, Bosch would have the vowel.
Okay, so it's a process of elimination. It's decoding through elimination. It's a little tricky to consider that way, because we don't actually do that, I think, in English. We have to, the brain is going to look for the vowel. What is happening very quickly, I'm just going to articulate this, because your brain is doing it without me telling you to do it. The brain is now being used for searching for vowels. It knows that it starts with a consonant, and when it doesn't find a vowel, it realizes it must be either the final closed position, or now it's learning a new little trick. See if there's a shin there, and if that dot can serve two jobs.
And that's the only one that can serve two jobs?
No.
The dot with the shin.
No, because it could be a sin.
Yeah, for now, let's learn that for now. For now, let's learn the letters that we've learned so far. Yeah, Catherine.
You said the term in closed position?
Okay, so the opening close, for those who maybe everybody heard this last time, when a vowel when a syllable ends in a consonant, we say it's closed, like bot, or bosh, or both. When a syllable ends in a vowel sound, we say it's open, like ta, or show. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Why is it? How do we use that piece of information?
You don't have to articulate it. It only is helpful for the brain to decode when should I make another syllable out of this. And the answer is not every syllable has to end in a vowel. So sometimes your brain might start to look for a vowel here, but then your brain will realize, no, it's okay because there's closed syllables. Not everything will need to have a vowel sound.
So again, with that configuration, if the bet was closed, if it was, say there was another consonant vowel for it, then you would assume that the shin was the beginning of the next syllable, not.
Well, you couldn't read it going this way. This way, yes.
Say there was a ha.
Let's write one out. Let's write it. Do you want to write an example of the because your questions are well, tell us. Because these are questions, what some people are asking are questions that other people might ask.
Okay, so if we had, I'm just copying here, I'm
Okay.
going to do this, and let's see, a little thing here. And now, we're going to that. Okay, so we had a set. So we had, that belly button, right?
Yep.
And then you had chin, I'm just going to do this like this, chin.
Yeah.
So this could be a syllable, and then you have to know
Okay, good. So her question is, let's say that this, I'm going to fill in on this, let's say you had this. So how would you pronounce this part right here? am I saying the question right? So the next consonant, the first thing your brain is going to do is to look for a
It is a
vowel.
vowel because
As
the
soon as
dot's
you see
missing.
a consonant, the first thing you do is look for the vowel.
Right, this,
And so
Which
it
means
has to
vowel.
have a vowel.
the book.
So it
But
will
if
pick
this
up
vowel
this.
is serving as both the vowel and.
Then you know this has to be closed. So let's do the exact same.
Wait,
Wait, hold on a second.
you know, it's closed because it's not a vowel.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that going to be somebody's
Oh, you know
question?
it's closed because there's no vowel there.
Exactly.
It's a vowel.
Exactly. So how would, so you already know this, you can't articulate it, but you already instinctively know it. How would you read this? Tabosh, right. And how would you read this?
About shot.
No.
It's the middle. It's still both,
No,
right?
top
You've got ta.
Bow shot.
What does this have to be? Use your deductive logic.
Has a vowel.
There
So
can
that
be
dot can't
no, there can
But
be
it
no
could be
consonant
three
without a vowel.
So it has to be.
Right, so how would you have to read this?
Then it would.
Right. Did everyone have to say it loud? We can't hear it. Why does it have to be tabosha?
Consonant means.
Because the dot is related to the.
Oh, good bet.
To the.
So why isn't it tabosha? Because we don't have, it needs something. It needs a vowel. It can't be sounded without a vowel.
Well, why can't it be a closed syllable?
It has to be the end if it's close syllable.
Why couldn't
Well,
it
that's
be
tough.
tab?
How do you know it's the end?
Oh, I see your question.
How do you know
Okay.
it's not the end, and then you have another syllable versus one?
I'm going to give you a piece of information that you don't have yet. There is a vowel that can appear in the middle of a word that will do exactly what Pam is saying, that would give us the ability to say tav sha. You haven't learned that vowel. It's a vowel that makes the consonant be, I don't know the right word for this, just the sound of the consonant. Yeah, like I think, I don't know what language this is in, but a schwa.
I'm so sad.
Or schwa. I don't know how to say that. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to, so for now, because you have, once you learn that sound, once you learn that non-vowel vowel, then the answer is yes, you can make this tav sha. But since you haven't learned it yet, it has to be tabo sha. Does that make sense? Exactly right, exactly. So Jeff, that's saying that if it was going to be tav sha, you would learn that silent vowel. Because the rule stands, you still need a vowel, even if it's a silent vowel. Just like there's silent letters, there's silent vowels, which I know doesn't make sense in English, but as soon as you study them, it'll make sense to that. Okay, let's not scramble our brains too much. Yes.
So every consonant needs a vowel unless it's the end.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly right. And to add on to that, when it's in the end, it could be in a final form, like we just learned of mem Sophie, or it could just be not a final form. Okay, good. You guys are very, very great. Let's keep reading. Of course, I never forgot what line we're on. When we just had this interesting discussion on page 14 about that dot serving two jobs when it's with a ship. So let's read a couple of these. Where did we leave off?
E maybe?
Yeah, okay. We're on line E on page 14. Mosh, good.
Mosh.
Bosh.
Mosh.
Tosh.
Good. Okay. You have now learned the letters and vowels that spell another basic Jewish vocabulary word. Shalom. Very good. Does everybody see that? This is the Hebrew word shalom for peace. It is also used as a greeting equivalent to the English word hello and goodbye. It can be combined with the word Shabbat, the vocabulary word you learned in the last chapter, to produce here's your first phrase. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. This is a traditional Shabbat greeting expressing the hope that all may enjoy a Sabbath of peace, a peaceful Shabbat. So take a second and just look at Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, because you've said it 1,000 times. Everybody here has said that at one point. But now, instead of saying it, actually sound it out. Look at the Shah, the Shin with the Ah under it, and then a Bet with an Ah, and then a closed syllable, a Ta. Shabbat. And then somebody walk us through the Shalom. Describe Shalom. Who would like to try to describe that? Go ahead.
A shin with a vowel, the A vowel.
Good.
Lamed with the O vowel,
Okay.
and a memsa feet.
A mem Sophie.
Close.
Final mem.
Yes.
Sophie. Good. Mem Sophie. Very good. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So your brain is doing all that. That's like, you're just doing it. That's great. Now, the Hebrew word for peace often appears in the Bible and in our prayers. So if you can find the word for peace in this verse from the biblical book of Psalms, turn from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. Who found the word for peace? Where do you see it?
The word less.
Good, good. So see, now your eyes are actually doing this kind of decoding where it's recognizing a shape made up of little shapes together. So even though you're not reading the whole phrase, that shape is now jumping out. Good. Now, let's turn to page 15. This is an example of what we talked about a couple weeks ago about the struggle with translation. So when we translate in English from Hebrew, we often cannot capture roots and shorishes. Remember we talked about the root, everybody, do people remember the root conversation? Okay, so in English, the word that's often associated with peace in our mind is something like tranquil or serene. If you just play in your brain, words that come with peace. In Hebrew, the word shalom does not come from either of these two roots. They're both Latin roots. It doesn't come from those roots. The word for peace in Hebrew comes from a totally different root, which gives the notion of peace a totally different underpinning. So you don't say, well, let's make peace. We're not actually talking about let's make tranquility or serenity. There's words for tranquility and serenity. It's not shalom. So let's read about what this root is. It's very important to read this. Who would like to read? You don't need to hear my voice. Who would like to read? Jonathan, do you read this paragraph where it says the word shalom? I'm on page 15.
The word shalom, peace, comes from the three-letter root, Shem, Lamed, Mem. This root has the basic meaning of completion or wholeness. The word shalom, therefore, means more than just an absence of warfare and violence. It implies a wholeness, a lack of fragmentation, a spiritual completeness. There are many expressions in Jewish life that utilize the word shalom, or the root. In addition to the Sabbath greeting, Shabbat Shalom, there is the expression Refuah Shlema.
Do you ever know that right before I say the Mishnah, we'll pray for Refuah Shlema? Can you hear Shalom, Shin Lamed Mem, Shlema, Shin Lamed Mem? Now your ears are hearing that that's the same root. Okay.
A complete healing, which one wishes to all those who are ill. Refuah Shlema. This book has not yet introduced all the letters and vowels of these words, but you can recognize the root letters.
Does everybody see the Shin Lamed Mem in the second word? Good.
When suffixes are attached and the root letter mem is no longer the last letter of the word, mem appears in its regular form.
So look at the word Shlema, and who can explain why that mem is not a mem Sophie? What is making it not be a mem Sophie?
The H.
The H sound, right. That's right, that's exactly right. So even though Shlema, you could say it with just one of these little vowels under it, if you look, that H sound is there. That's making it not be the final consonant. So therefore, it can't be a mem Sophie, it has to be a regular mem. That's what's happening there. Now, let's take a look at some of the words that can be formed with this Shin Lamed Mem. To be completed, finished. Lishlom, to pay, to recompense, to complete, to discharge a commitment. Lishalem, to make peace, to reconcile, to complete, to accomplish. Lahashlim, to fulfill or perfect. Mishulam, completeness, wholeness, or perfection. Shalemut, and the name Solomon, which is Shlomo. So it's very interesting, this notion of wholeness or completeness as meaning peace. So when we read poems or when we read documents and we see the word for peace in Hebrew, it has, for the native Hebrew reader, a different sense, which is very embedded. When somebody is like, if an Israeli is practicing meditation, they're not doing shalom. They're not getting that sense of tranquility. There's another word for what they're doing. So whereas in English we might think we're doing, no, we're at peace, something like that. It's not that sense.
Would you just walk through Solomon, Shlomo?
Shlomo, good. This is a nice one. This is a good one. So for those of you who are very anxious to discover the vowel who is not a vowel, it's that first thing under the shin. So do you see how Shlomo, there's really no vowel there. Those two little dots under each other. I'm not going to introduce it formally to you. It's an informal greeting to meet this little schwa. And now, what's next to the lamed? What do you see next to the lamed? The O, right, good, that little O thing. And then you've got the mem, and what's next to the mem? The little O thing. And then you've got a silent H. The thing, you know how in English you can write the name Sarah like this? And you can write the name Sarah like this? And that's what that is. How when an H appears in the final position, even in the English, it doesn't modify the sound. You wouldn't say Sarah and Sarah. So it's like that. So does everybody understand how we got Shlomo? Okay, good. Now, let's push on. Okay, the following are prayer book excerpts containing the word shalom. You may already be familiar with the words or melodies of these prayers, though this book has not yet introduced most of the Hebrew letters and vowels appearing in them. So we're definitely not saying them. But let's go to, and what's interesting about this is how we learn Hebrew here in America for the most part. Unless we take it like at a college level conversational Hebrew class. We do this very bizarre thing. You don't learn any other language like this, where you actually, I know that word, I know that word. It's a kind of a strange decoding that we actually do. And so it seems actually normal that we would be able to look at a whole passage and pick out a couple words that you wouldn't really do that in any other language. So let's look at Oseh Shalom. Everybody knows this song? Oseh Shalom. So Shalom appears twice in there. Can somebody identify? So your eye is doing that thing I just said. Your eyes go, woo, and then it's going to land on Shalom, or some variation of Shin, Lam, and Mem. You can sing the whole thing in your head and find it too. You got it? You got it? You did a tag team? Did everybody? Let's give people a few more minutes.
Oh, just as he wants to.
Yeah, just do the first one. Can somebody who's finished the first one, the very first one, the Oseh Shalom one, can somebody just raise their hand if they would like to? Yeah, do you want to share where you found it?
The second word, and on the first line, the fourth from the last.
Good. Very good. Did everybody see that? Was everybody able to scan through? Good. Now, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem. Okay, it's 7 times in here. And if you want, you can just circle that. That may make it easier for your brain to see it.
Well, sometimes
Look
it
at the
has a
lines.
llama in front of it also, is it?
Shalom Aleichem. Yes, it can have a lamed in front. Remember we talked about with these roots, ignore what's here and what's here.
Can they have a sound like
Ignore what's in front or in back of it. You're looking for the shin, lam, and mem together. What makes a root is not just the consonants, but their order. They have to be in the same order. Mixed into another order, there would be another root. So 7 of these.
There's also one with
You got it? Okay, do you guys want to share, has
Oh, they
everybody
did the
had a
JD.
chance? Give them another minute, another second.
Hashalom.
The Susan and Kim team, do you guys want to tell us, where did you find 7 of these?
Okay, the first word in the paragraph,
Good,
in the third line, the second, and then the fourth, and the same thing, the next two lines, the second and the fourth words.
good, good, good. Archuni Leshalom, Malachi Hashalom. And then it goes, Teitchem Leshalom, Malachi Hashalom. Is it, everybody is already kind of following? So that's what's happening. Jesse, you had a question, tell me your face.
With the silent H again, what the heck is that?
It's the same thing, it's just the best of your brain. It's this, Judson, it's this thing right here, I'll show you with Sarah.
Have we been introduced?
We haven't had H's yet, we haven't had H's.
Oh, okay.
No. That's why this little exercise is really quite the brain tease. It's like, you haven't had 99% of it, now find the 1% that you have had, is what it's doing. But that's okay, we have that skill. You guys just all did it beautifully. Now we're going to jump onto page 17. 17 is about writing. And these letters that we just
I
learned
don't find four.
are written in a way that might be a little confusing. So even though I'm going to give you the writing as a homework assignment, I want you to practice writing a little bit in class.
No.
Yeah.
So look at let's start with, they're starting with the men's.
And this one is,
The men is going to be written like a funny triangle with a stick. So watch up here for just a second. You're going to start here, and you're going to come up, and then down, and then around, and then a stick. Notice that it doesn't totally close. Try a couple of those men's. Well, we're going to start with the print, because the print's hard enough. With the print is hard enough. We're going to do a couple of print ones, and then we're going to do script. So one more time, it's you're making a funny looking triangle that doesn't totally close, and then put a little stick on it. So that's your men in print. It's one of those letters where the print letter looks very different than what you see in a book font. Now we're going to look at the man written in script. This is really going to confuse your little brain. So it looks like from the end.
where'd you get
Somebody
that?
finds that mistake. Okay, then one more time. Notice the arrows. Look how funny this is.
There's no application.
Yes, we said it. But it's right. It's the opposite of what your hand and brain are used to doing. Okay, so this is just the men.
Leah, if you saw a sign in Israel, would it be in block or in script? It could be either.
Good question. For the most part, you're going to see block. Where you'll see script is almost like if it's trying to make a point, like italics. So
But most people write in script.
exactly right. So this is it. Most people write in script. In fact, the last class we were talking about this. Like anything above kindergarten writes in script, which is why when you see, if you go to a museum and you see little children's notes, it's in print. Then after that, you don't see it. So it's like precious to see that. You really don't see that after that. Then you see script, and then you can see children's hand and then adult handwriting, which gets a little sloppier and looser. But script never connects. It's not like English script where the letters connect to each other. So it'll be like that. So that's just the men. That's just men. Now let's jump on to the final men. The final man I'm going to do first, so I hope you guys are writing a little bit here. The final man I'm going to do first as print.
He says that's more grammar.
Yeah, and you'll see that, there's, I wouldn't get too rounded, because that's going to look like another letter. So looks like a backwards fat small a. Let me show you. It goes down like this, and it sits on the line. I'll do one over here. Pretend that was the line. Okay? Now we're going to come to the lamed. And again, use the writing only if it helps you. It's not a major skill for us. The lamed I actually think is very pretty. It looks almost like a music note. For the let's do print first. Down. And then how do they do it? I'm not sure. They're going to show you like that.
Well, as an artist, it almost looks like an L on top, it's a good way to remember.
Yeah. And let me show you how the script looks. And this gets very long. It is a letter for some reason that gets very stylized. So it's like a quail. It has this little thing hanging on the top there. And you'll see some people, we talked a little bit about laying down, about this will be laid down a little bit more. Okay, so enough with all this writing. The writing, let me just do one with the vowel. This O, so these are now, I'm going to make them all into lows. And the only difference, I'm sorry, the script would be like this, and the only difference with the print would look like this, and the only difference with the script is it would be a little bit more of a curve like that. The block is this, and the script is more like curved. The script, sorry, the script has a little. I'm doing it backwards, I'm sorry. I never do the little.
Oh, yeah,
things.
right, okay.
I'm saying it backwards, sorry.
So the one with the third is the block.
Is the block, yes. And it's because their font makes this little thing like that. You know what I'm saying? In the text, like, you realize it's going to be right. All right, let's do this. Let's jump now to this page 18. What I want to do on page 18 is leave this for you as an assignment. But I want to do the first exercise in class. So everybody take a couple minutes, and you're going to take the English word and connect it to how it's spelled in Hebrew. This is the first exercise. We're going to do it out loud after you take a moment. Okay. Are people good? Good. All right, so I'm going to start over here. Catherine, which word did you choose for mom?
It's the middle of the column.
Okay, the middle one in the column. Does everybody see that? Now, why it's tricky, this is a deliberately tricky exercise. Mom is written M-O-M. But if you look for an O vowel, you're not hearing. Your brain is taking the picture and not the sound. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So, which is why people often have a very hard time reading transliteration. You think you're helping yourself to see a transliteration. It actually messes you up. So don't read transliteration. You're learning to read Hebrew. So mom is actually the one that is sounding like almost like a ah vowel.
So that's how we say it.
Right.
But when the O sound, the O vowel is long.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so who would like, okay,
So
so
why
Catherine.
isn't that man again?
Because that's
Ah.
how we pronounce it.
Because there's another vowel that makes the and sound as opposed to the ah sound. Because this thing, this makes this sound.
Father, right, right. That English example. Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to do
Our
mole?
reason.
Mole.
Not English.
Ed, do you want to do mole?
I chose the bottom,
Okay, good.
then, amen.
Okay, any question about that? Okay, and the last one, where did you go for ball? Yes, top. Good, good. And that one was kind of easy because your brain was hearing ah and seeing the a vowel all. But know that that's like not always going to be that way. Because we have long and short vowels in English. Okay, let's do the next one. Where did you go for bomb? Or have you worked on the second one yet? Oh, okay, Deb, where did you go?
The middle.
Good, good. And what about toll? Remember? Good, good. And Tom?
Yes, the top.
Good, good, good. But again, that's one of those tricky ones where it's a short
And you know that, why, how?
because in our first class we learned that this, that's okay, it's a good question. These two make this sound.
Right. So why does it then go Tom instead of Tom?
There's another vowel that'll make the long A sound.
But
It's not
Tom
true.
is spelled T-O-M in English.
Right, how would we spell
Per syllable,
Tom?
and that's our spelling. We have the same.
How would we spell, if we wanted to say tone,
T-O-N.
how would we spell it in Hebrew? Tell me the letters.
Top.
Tav, okay.
With a vowel.
With a dot, and what would we put at the end? Mem-so-fi, very good. So that would be tone, and Tom would be that. Does that make sense? Of course, this could also be written like this, and this could also be written like that.
How would you Tam?
We haven't learned that vowel yet. There's another vowel that'll make that sound. Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, now, when we get to, so what you're going to do on exercise 2, this is going to be your homework. I just want to explain this, because you have 3 pieces of homework now, maybe a little more difficult. Look on exercise 2, and let's do the first one together. Each of these sounds, and it's probably more helpful for you to think of it as moat. Don't look at the O and A. Just look at this, just hear the sound, moat. Let's write moat 2 different ways. Somebody tell me the first way that we'll write it.
Man with a
Okay, oh, don't say English letters. Men, okay. Okay, and Tom. Very good. And then what would be the second way? Who would like to say a second way? Okay, Jen.
Men. With a little dot below and the top.
Good. So your first exercise, it should look like that.
So we should write it both ways.
Yes. What they're trying to get you to do is to write things both ways. To get this, it's like polishing your brain, making fluid. We're getting these little synapses to learn new trails.
wow.
So that's what's happening. Now, don't do your homework. Now, don't do your homework in class. Now, let's talk about the third one. Because remember, I told you you have 3 homeworks. Look at the third, where it says, read the following letter and vowel combinations and circle the sound alikes in each line. I want to do the first line together. So, Charlotte, read the whole first line.
Read the whole 3A.
Read all of 3A, and everybody circle the ones that sound the same. Okay, Charlotte, go ahead.
Lal, lo, lash, losh, la losh, la lash, la losh.
Okay, now, everybody be quiet for a second. Think for a minute what she just said, and then raise third section. On the fourth section, this is just a reading opportunity. Do read these out loud. We're at the stage of reading where we want to read out loud. Do you remember when you were little kids, or if you had little kids at home and they had to read out loud? That's the stage we're at. We actually want to do that, as opposed to reading it in your head. So even if you think it sounds crazy, just quietly go to the Bible and read these things out loud. And P.S. it goes all the way over onto page 19. There's a lot of reading out loud. What is happening by the time you get to line N is you're getting many syllables. This is important. This is like putting the pieces of a train together. So push through. Do not do all 3 homework sections in one night. It's 3 very different skills, and your brain will be not happy about that. You try to space itself out, okay? Because it's a lot. It really, you may find yourself actually getting very fatigued. It's a lot. It takes an incredible amount of energy. I want to just very quickly read about Shin, because we studied Shin last week. Look at the bottom of page 19. Would somebody like to read this out loud, and I'll try to explain stuff about it? Do you want to read out loud on that?
The letter Shin, or the word
Shaddai.
Shaddai, for which it stands, appears on every mezuzah scroll. The word Shaddai is one of the names for God, usually translated as Almighty. Some say the word Shaddai on the mezuzah is an abbreviation for the phrase guardian of the doors of Israel.
Okay, now, I want to explain that. The guardian on the doors of Israel. Look at the first word, shomer. Do you see how the shin is bold? And then delatot, the dalet is bold. And then Yisrael, the yud is bold. So shin, dalet, yud. They're teaching you a funny little pun. They're teaching you shin, dalet, yud as either an acronym, meaning guardian of the doors of Israel, or they're teaching you that also the name Shaddai, God has many names in Hebrew, and then that's one of God's names. When you go home, if you look at your mezuzah, if you look at any mezuzah, you will see on it a shin. You won't see like an olive for Adonai or anything. You always see a shin. And wait, why a shin on every single mezuzah has to have a shin on it? This is why. If you were going to say, it would be like if your mezuzah had GDI. Do you know what I'm saying? Which it doesn't. Guardians of the doors of Israel. That's what they're trying to teach you. That's what Shaddai is. That's what she is. Okay. So, okay, keep going. Sorry, keep going. The letter Shin.
The letter Shin also appears on the tefillin boxes worn by some Jews during daily morning prayers. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, in his book of Letters, shares the following teaching regarding the Shin on the tefillin.
Now let me say what this is. This tefillin, does anybody know what that is? What is a tefillin? Jonathan, tell me what it is.
Little leather box with straps, which are wrapped for morning prayers on your forehead and on your arm. So they shall be for a sign of honor.
Right. I have a set of tefillin in my office. I won't get them out because I know we're over a little bit. So it takes, Orthodox Jews will wear this. It's traditional for men to do it, although in the conservative seminary, women will also learn to, you lay tefillin. So the verb that goes with tefillin is not put them on or wear, that you lay tefillin. So the place that it comes from is you shall bind them upon your hand, they shall be a sign before your eyes. So they literally take those phrases and act them out by putting it looks like exactly like a tiny little box that goes here. Now, has anybody ever seen this? It looks like a little black box. And they're bound. It looks kind of like a little like S&M kind of thing because it's a double binding. And you bind them tightly. I mean, so, like if you're with the Orthodox side, you say, oh, you have tefillin head. And it means that he had davened that morning, and the back of his head, it's like, you know, like if you have something like, if you wore your straps tight, it'll cut into your hairdo. You're like, what? It's like a hat. Like a hat, exactly. Okay, so that's what tefillin is. And then, you don't have to read about that. But just you should know, Larry Kushner wrote a book called The Book of Letters. Larry Kushner is a guy who is a Reformed Jew, Reformed rabbi, and he writes a lot of spiritual, mystical kinds of books. And so this is a midrash. He takes some old midrashim, but he also creates new midrashim. So this is a special midrash.
Do you have the
About
chart?
an 8% slope is where we are. So, good job. Do your homework, I will see you next week with the same thing, we'll do the same format. We'll start with refreshing with the homework, and then we'll get more letters in your mouth. Okay? Good, good. You are very welcome. I look forward to
So
seeing
that
you.
it erases easily and cleanly like slate. That's the, yeah, otherwise, so you can have like 400 if you want.
Downloaded our
Oh, wait.